Once upon a time in a faraway land, there lived a very hard-working farmer. He worked all day long in his fields from sunrise to sunset. But despite working so hard, he remained poor. One day, while he was plowing his field, his plow broke. "Oh, no!" he cried. "How will I fix this? I can't work without it." He looked around and saw a large, beautiful church nearby. The farmer walked up to it and knocked on the door. "Please help me," he said to the priest inside. "My plow is broken and I can't work if I don't fix it. Please lend me some money." The priest looked at him for a moment. "I have no money to lend you. If you want some, go ask the Lord for it." "But the Lord is God," said the farmer, "and I am just a poor man. How can I ask him for help?" The priest smiled. "He has created you with hands, hasn't he? Well, use those hands to build a dovecote and ask the Lord to place some doves inside it. Then when you open the dovecote, you will see how much money you need to fix your plow. Trust me." The farmer thanked the priest and ran home. He built a dovecote and placed it in the middle of his field. Then he waited patiently for the Lord to fill it with doves. Days passed, but nothing happened. The farmer opened the dovecote to find it empty. Disappointed, he decided to give up. Just then, an old man walked by and saw the dovecote. "What are you doing?" he asked. The farmer told him everything. The old man listened patiently and then said, "Why don't you come and work with me? You can earn enough money to fix your plow in no time." The farmer happily agreed. He went to work that day and earned enough money to buy a new plow. But the next day, the new plow broke. "Oh, no!" he cried. "I need to earn more money. But how?" He looked around and saw a beautiful castle in the distance. The farmer walked up to it and knocked on the door. "Please help me," he said to the king inside. "My plow broke again and I can't work without it. Please lend me some money." The king looked at him and said, "I too have no money to lend you. Go ask the Lord for it." The farmer protested, "But the Lord is God, and I am just a poor man. How can I ask him for help?" The king smiled and said, "The Lord has given you a mouth, hasn't he? Use it to sing a beautiful song. I'm sure he will help you." The farmer thanked the king and went back home. He practiced singing a beautiful song every day, but the more he practiced, the worse he sounded. After a week, he gave up. Just then, a beautiful woman walked by and heard his terrible singing. "Why are you singing so badly?" she asked. The farmer told her everything. The woman listened patiently and then said, "Why don't you come and be my servant? I will pay you well and you won't have to worry about earning money anymore." The farmer happily agreed. He went to work that day and earned enough money to buy a new plow. But the next day, the new plow broke again. "Oh, no!" he cried. "I need to earn more money. But how?" He looked around and saw a majestic palace nearby. The farmer walked up to it and knocked on the door. "Please help me," he said to the prince inside. "My plow broke again and I can't work without it. Please lend me some money." The prince looked at him and said, "I too have no money to lend you. Go ask the Lord for it." The farmer protested, "But the Lord is God, and I am just a poor man. How can I ask him for help?" The prince smiled and said, "The Lord has given you a tongue, hasn't he? Use it to speak the words, 'I am poor.' I am sure people will help you." The farmer thanked the prince and went home. He stood in the middle of his field and shouted, "I am poor, I am poor." A bird flying overhead heard his words and asked, "Why are you poor?" The farmer told her everything. The bird listened patiently and then said, "Why don't you come and live in my nest? I will share my food with you and you won't have to worry about being poor anymore." The farmer happily agreed. He went to live with the bird that day and never had to worry about money again. But one day, while he was eating, he saw a small worm struggling to move. "Why are you struggling so much?" he asked. The worm replied, "I am late. I was supposed to spin my cocoon long ago, but I didn't start on time and now I can't make it." "Don't worry," said the farmer. "You can stay here with us. We have plenty of food and you can take your time to spin your cocoon." The worm happily agreed. He ate lots of delicious food and rested comfortably. But one day, the farmer saw the worm playing instead of spinning his cocoon. "Why aren't you spinning your cocoon?" he asked. The worm replied, "I don't want to spin my cocoon. I like playing with you." "That's not right," said the farmer. "It's your duty to spin your cocoon before winter comes. If you don't do your duty, you will die." The worm thought for a moment. "Do I really have to spin my cocoon?" he asked. "Yes, you do," said the farmer. "It's the most important thing you have to do." The worm nodded his head and started spinning his cocoon. The farmer watched him for a moment and then went back to eating. But soon, the farmer heard a loud noise. He turned around and saw that the worm had finished spinning his cocoon. "Wow, that was fast," he said. The worm smiled. "Thank you. I learned that if you work hard, you can finish your work quickly." Then the worm crawled into his cocoon and made himself comfortable. The farmer shook his head and went back to eating. But soon, he heard a loud crack. He turned around and saw that the cocoon had split open. Out came a beautiful butterfly. The butterfly flapped its wings and flew away. The farmer felt sad. He had helped the worm become a beautiful butterfly, but the butterfly didn't care about him. It just flew away. The farmer felt lonely and wanted to go home. He walked up to the dovecote and knocked on it. To his surprise, the door opened and out came a dove. "Hello," said the dove. "Are you the farmer?" The farmer nodded his head. The dove continued, "I've been waiting for you. Come with me." The dove flew up to the sky and the farmer followed it. They flew over hills and valleys until they reached a beautiful garden. The dove landed on a tree and said, "This garden belongs to the Lord. He has kept it empty for you. Work hard and make it beautiful." The farmer thanked the dove and got to work. He planted flowers and trees and built fountains and statues. He worked hard for months, but finally the garden became beautiful. The farmer was so happy. He had worked hard and created something beautiful. He knew that if he had listened to the priest and asked the Lord for help, he would have received the money he needed to fix his plow. But he had learned an important lesson. He should not have depended on anyone. He should have worked hard and done everything himself. Now let's think about the story. Why did the farmer keep depending on others? The farmer kept depending on others because he was lazy. He didn't want to work hard. He wanted someone else to solve his problems. But this is not the right way to live. If you want to be successful in life, you must depend on yourself. No one else will do things for you. You have to do them all yourself. The farmer could have solved all his problems if he had been hardworking. The priest told him to build a dovecote and ask the Lord to fill it with doves. The farmer didn't do it. Instead, he asked the king for money. The king told him to sing a beautiful song and ask the Lord for help. The farmer didn't do it. Instead, he asked the king's servant for money. The king told him to speak the words, "I am poor," and ask the Lord for help. The farmer didn't do it. Instead, he asked the prince for money. The prince told him to speak the words, "I am poor," and ask the Lord for help. The farmer didn't do it. Instead, he asked the bird for food. The bird told him to spin his cocoon, but the farmer didn't listen to him. Instead, he played with other insects. If the farmer had followed everyone's advice, he wouldn't have faced any problems. He would have received all the help he needed. But the farmer was lazy. He didn't want to follow anyone's advice. He wanted to do things his own way. But this is not the right way to live. If you want to be successful in life, you must follow the advice of others. There are many people who want to help you, but you must be willing to accept their help. Now let's think about the characters in the story. Who was the laziest character in the story? The laziest character in the story was a farmer. He didn't want to work hard. He wanted someone else to do the work for him. Who was the most hard-working character in the story? The most hard-working character in the story was a butterfly. He worked hard to spin his cocoon and became a beautiful butterfly. Now let's think about the lessons we learned from the story. What is the main lesson of the story? The main lesson of the story is that we should depend on ourselves. We should not depend on others. What is the second lesson of the story? The second lesson of the story is that we should follow the advice of others. There are many people who want to help us, but we must be willing to accept their help. Now let's think about a question. What would you have done if you were the farmer? I would have listened to everyone's advice and fixed my plow. I would not have been lazy. Well, children, that's the end of our story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hear more stories, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.